Finally, here we are. I am here with Razzle to make my top 10 movies of 2015. I'm super excited to get this video out. If you watched my top 10 worst movies of 2015, you'd see the reason it took me a little longer to make this video is because I wanted to make sure I saw The Revenant, The Hateful Eight, and Carol before I made this list. I did get the chance to see all three of those movies, so I'm really excited to present my top 10 list. Really quick before I get started though, I just want to put out this disclaimer that you probably see in all these lists if you watch these kinds of lists. It's subjective. Film is subjective. That's what I love about movies. We all have our own opinions. So even though you may see things on my list that you might be thinking, whoa, why is that there? That shouldn't, that wouldn't be, I don't think that's the top 10 best movies of the year. And you may see things that aren't on the list and you're like, wait, where's this movie? Why isn't this movie in there? Why isn't that movie in here? Or you might be having trouble with where I list the movies. But I just want to make it known when I say this, obviously, film is subjective. So my opinion could be different than your opinion. I really want to see what you guys think in the comments. Give me your top 10 or top 5 or whatever movies of 2015 in there. I would love to share and have discussion with you guys. That's what I love about this community. Alright, without any further ado, let's get started. Number 10 on my list, I gave an 8.5 out of 10 to. This movie is Carol. Carol is a very, very powerful film built off of very, very powerful performances from Cate Blanchett and Rooney Mara. They really carry the film, and that was by far the best part of the movie in my part. Two of some of the best performances I've seen all year, because the performances are very, very subtle. They're not over the top. There's a couple, it just feels very real and visceral. I really felt a part of it because of just how real it felt. Another thing I really loved about this movie was just the visual style. The cinematography, the color palette, I just love the composition of every single shot. It really felt like you were in this world, these times. It really was great for just the exposition of the film and just in its cinematography and its composition. Love that part of the film. This movie, I know it's getting a lot of attention. A lot of people love this movie. And I know there's a lot of people that don't really get it, but it's tough. It's not gonna hit home with everybody. But this movie, I really, at first, because around halfway through the movie, I was like, this is good, but it's not great. And then when I got to that second half, I really felt how much the movie impacted me. And when I was watching, I was like, that's when I realized, wow, it's like this movie snuck up on me. I really started to buy into the characters and buy into everything I was seeing. So I love this movie. Carol, for me, I gave an 8.5 and is number 10 on my list. Number 9 on my list is Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight. I love this movie. I know a lot of people didn't really like this movie too much, but I really did. I'm just gonna get the negatives out really quick. The only negatives I really had was just felt it was a little lengthy, and I thought the time, about the first third of the movie was just a little too long. But and there was a couple other small things that I could get into with it if I did a review, but this isn't a review. So the thing that I really loved about this movie was just the dialogue and just the fact how it all ties together, and just Quentin Tarantino does such a great job with the dialogue between characters that it's captivating, and it leaves little hints and things just so you can start building and making your own assumptions about the characters, and just these little details about just character interactions makes you kind of try to guess where it's going, but then you don't know where it's going. And that was a really fun mystery. It was really fun. This movie was a really fun experience on the first viewing, and it'll be even more fun on the second viewing when you know what's going on. It'll give you a totally different experience. That's why this movie was so good and so much fun. That's why The Hateful Eight, I give an 8.5 out of 10 to, and it is number 9 on my list. Number 8 on my list, I also gave an 8.5 out of 10. This movie is Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. I love this movie. This movie, I remember it's not, when you're watching it, you assume it's going to be just another young adult novel. I remember when I first heard about it, I thought, oh, this is going to be like Fault in Our Stars or Paper Town, those kind of movies. And that's not really a movie that I'm totally interested in. But when I was watching this movie, it's a comedy. It's almost a dark comedy. It's a comedy. It's not to its heart. And, it has a lot of soul and a lot of heart. And that kind of builds as the movie goes on. But it's a really funny movie. This is It's quirky and bouncy in its style, like in its dialogue and also in its visual style. It just feels, it's a lot of like fun to watch, but at the same time, like it tugs at your heartstrings. It's a movie that gives me a full range of different emotions, and I really enjoyed watching it. Thomas Mann was really great in the film. I loved his relationship with Earl and of course with the dying girl. This movie was a lot of fun, great to watch. The book also, if you want to read the book, is a great read as well. I love this movie. Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, I gave an 8.5 out of 10, and it is number 8 on my list. Number 7 on my list is the only scary movie on my entire top 10 list, which is disappointing, but at least the movie we got was fantastic. Number 7, I gave a 9 out of 10. It is It Follows. I love this movie to its core. There's so many elements that I love about this movie. For one, just the visual, like the cinematography and the color palette and just the set design. This movie is just gorgeous to look at. I love this type of movie. It's like butter. I just sit down and I just enjoy the landscape. The cinematography, the very first scene in the movie has an amazing shot right off the bat. It's just so good and powerful. The movie, another thing I love about it is it's very reminiscent of like 80s slasher horror films and 80s monster films with its soundtrack. Oh, I'll get into the soundtrack in a second, but with just the feel of it, that's just the way it feels. Also, another thing I love, like I was just saying, the soundtrack is one of my favorite soundtracks of the entire year in any film. It is, I own it on my phone and I listen to it sometimes because it's just so good. It is so well done. I just love the mystery of the characters and just the exploration of the characters, and it follows a lot of those 80s tropes, and it's creepy, it's unnerving. One thing I will say is it's not terribly scary. You know, it doesn't have a lot of jump scares, which I like. I don't like jump scares. I think that, I mean, I like them to a degree, but like I don't like when they're just shoehorned into the movie and they just feel out of place. I hate that. But this one, you know, it has like one jump scare that I thought was kind of out of place. But you know, overall, the movie it's pretty unnerving. It's really scary, but I consider it really more of a thriller than a scary movie. I wasn't terrified. I remember sitting in the theater. I was watching with Zach, and I remember we were pretty scared throughout it. But it isn't something that, you know, it didn't really have a lasting effect or anything. It wasn't like The Babadook. The Babadook was the one that gave me a lasting effect. But this is just a trend of scary movie that I really enjoy. It's smart scary. It's smart horror movie. It has very deep underlying themes about us as people, and that's what I really like. This movie, I know there's a bit of confusion. I wish I could go into details about spoilers and stuff, but I'm not going to. Maybe I'll do that another time. I don't know. I probably never will. But there's just a lot of misunderstanding about what the movie is about and what it means. But that's something that you can talk about with your friends after you see this movie, because this movie is great. It Follows, I gave a 9 out of 10. It is number 7 on my list, and you should definitely go see it. Number 6 on my list is directed by Tom McCarthy, and no, I am not talking about The Cobbler. I am talking about Spotlight, which I gave a 9 out of 10. This movie is just amazing. It's really just well directed. In my opinion, this is the best directed film of the year because it's just handling such very heavy and controversial source material while handling it so professionally and with it was such finesse. It was just so well directed, and it feels so real. It almost feels as if you're watching a documentary because it never feels cartoonish. It never feels like they're trying to overact or go over the top at all, which is good in some movies, and it's good to really have that moment where the characters just really go over the top and just, you know, but this movie doesn't have that. It feels so real and subtle. I was talking about subtlety with Carol, but the subtlety in this movie is just, oh, it is beautiful. It just feels like like I said, it feels like you're watching a documentary, like they just had a camera following around as all this was happening. The actors were all chameleons. This is, in my opinion, one of the best acted movies of the year as well, just as an ensemble. The ensemble acting was amazing. Mark Ruffalo, I think, was the standout because he really has to play almost like, his character is the most animated character of any of the characters, but he handles it with such subtlety. Like, it's beautifully acted. Mark Ruffalo is becoming one of my favorite actors in Hollywood because he's just handles subtlety with his characters so well. He doesn't need an over-the-top character, or even if his character would normally be over the top, he's so good at handling the character to make them feel real, and that's what he did with his character. Michael Keaton was another standout for me. I thought he was fantastic. Oh, I loved his character. He's just, you could see the flaw and the fault in him, and it's just, he really handled that well. Another character was really well was Rachel McAdams' character. Liev Schreiber's character was really great. The whole film was just so well directed, so beautifully paced. One of the best paced movies of the year. I'm surprised it's as low as it is, but I love this movie so much. I recommend everybody to see it. This is a movie I'm going to be rooting for at the Academy Awards like crazy. I really enjoyed this movie. This movie is just, I recommend it to everybody. That's why Spotlight is number 6 on my list with a 9 out of 10. Number 5 on my list, not a lot of people have seen. It's a much smaller movie, but I think it's a movie that a lot of people should see. Number 5 on my list, I give it a 9 out of 10. It is The Stanford Prison Experiment. This movie, I love this movie a lot. And a lot of it is due to its performances from its young actors. I believe this group of young actors are going to be some of the up-and-coming actors we're going to start seeing in a lot of films. I'm talking about Ezra Miller. The 2 big standoffs are Ezra Miller and Ty Sheridan. They really carry this movie. And the thing I love so much about this movie is because I really love like psychological dramas, psychological thrillers. Those are my favorite types of movies generally. So that's why I really enjoyed this movie. And this movie is based off of one of the largest, most popular, just one of the biggest psychological experiments of all time, being the Stanford Prison Experiment. And I remember watching documentaries of it in my psych classes I've taken at university, and it's very interesting. It's almost scary what it makes people do, like what this made people become and what people just became because of this experiment. And that's why I was really intrigued with the idea of this movie. And when I saw it, I loved it. And just in watching it, it is so accurate to the source material, to what really happened, the videotapes of what really happened. It's amazing performances. It has a nice little story. It's a smaller movie, but it's just a really powerful movie with just with spectacular acting from some of these young actors you're going to start seeing in the future. I just love the suspense, the relationships that were built between the characters, watching more and more as these characters delve into like insanity. It's just an amazing experience watching this movie. I really enjoyed it, and I really think more people should see it. The Stanford Prison Experiment, I give a 9 out of 10. It is number 5 on my list. My top 4, this is a very difficult, all 4 of these movies I could really place in any way. I love them all so much. They're all pretty much number 1, kind of, because they're all just so great in their own way, and I'm going to rewatch them just several times. These are movies I'm going to be watching over and over and over again. So it was very difficult to make my list here, but here it is. Number 4 on my list, I gave a 9 out of 10. This movie is Star Wars: The Force Awakens. This is the movie I probably will revisit more than any other movie on this list, just because it's Star Wars, and I love it so much. It's so good. The one thing that I love about this movie so much, this movie had a lot of pressure on it. It had the most pressure a film has ever had on to be good. This film needed to be good, and the film delivered. It is fantastic. The new characters, this is another thing, the new characters had to be good. The new characters were fantastic. They were all so well done, so well written. You really connected with the characters. They were all so well done. My favorite character in the new movies is Kylo Ren. I just thought he was just so well designed character. I thought he was just gonna be another brood. I thought he was gonna be just like a Darth Maul, but he wasn't. He became such a deep character, and I loved his character so much. And obviously the things that he does in the movie, I love a lot, even though some of the things he does in the movie, they break my heart. This movie is just really good in its set design, its practical effects. This movie it creates a world that you could just live in. This movie is just it's just the most fun I had at a movie all year, by far. Like I didn't have more fun watching him sitting in a movie theater all year more than I did this movie. This movie's just so much fun. I do have a lot of flaws with the movie. As I got farther and farther away, I'm starting to point out more flaws that I have, but it's a startup movie. It's a good setup, man. I think this movie could really be the Scottie Pippen to Episode 8's Michael Jordan. I really think so I really love this movie a lot. I have my issues with it. That's why I'm putting it at the number 4 spot, but man, this is the movie I'm probably going to revisit more than any other film on this list. This movie is fantastic. I'm trying not to get into spoilers, but yeah. This movie's great. That's why Star Wars: The Force Awakens, I give a 9 out of 10. It is number 4 on my top 10 movies of the year. Number 3 on my list is actually the first movie that I reviewed with Razzle. It's pretty exciting to think about. This movie I gave a 9 out of 10. If you haven't figured it out already, number 9 on my list is Mad Max: Fury Road. I love this movie. This movie is one of the best action movies. This movie is the best action movie of the year. It's also, in my opinion, one of the best action movies I've seen in my entire life. This movie, oh, it's beautiful, beautiful filmmaking, this movie is. And I'm so happy it's getting a lot of the award attention it's getting. The amount of choreography and just the fact that they were able to put together some of these action sequences in this film, it is an insane amount of fun to watch. And it's just edge of your seat action, and it's just so well done. Technically, this film is just brilliant. It is absolutely visually brilliant. And I know a lot of people have an issue with the story. I hear this a lot. A lot of people say, oh, you know, Mad Max isn't, a lot, especially recently, now that's getting a lot of award attention, a lot of people are saying like, oh, the story's bad. You know, the movie, the action's good, yeah, but the story's bad. And I 100% disagree with people. The story is not bad. That's not what it is. The story is simple. There's a very, very, very distinct difference between bad and simple. The movie isn't trying to do too much with its story. It's mostly just a chase film. It's that kind of, it's kind of a revenge film. That's what the movie is. It's not trying to be an overly complicated film. It's a very, very simple film, and they're doing that on purpose so they can put their emphasis in other places. It's not trying to be too much or be too big. Plus, it really goes along with, that's kind of what Mad Max is about. It's really this intense action, and it's about kind of Mad Max just kind of wandering into different situations, and that's kind of what he does. And then one of the best female characters of the year is Furiosa, played by Charlize Theron. Her character is... oh, she's brilliant, and she is brilliant in the movie. Tom Hardy, even though he does not that much, he's brilliant in the movie. The movie is just so much fun to watch, with just some of the best action I've seen in a movie ever. Honestly, this is one of the best action movies I've ever seen. This movie is just, I recommend it to everybody who, even if you are not a fan of the Mad Max movies, you still can go and enjoy it. That's why Mad Max Fury Road, I gave a 9 out of 10. It is number 3 on my list. Number 2 on my list, I'm so happy is here because this movie was the surprise of the year for me. This is a movie that when I didn't really watch the trailers because I heard like, oh, they give away too much, but I'd kind of seen some things and I just thought, and the director that was in it, he's been synonymous for bad films lately. I didn't have high hopes for it, but man, when I saw it, I was utterly blown away. This movie blew me away so much. Number 2 on my list, I give it a 9 out of 10. It is Ridley Scott's The Martian. Oh, this movie is just so much, it's just so, this is the feel-good, believe it or not, this is the feel-good movie of the year. This movie just builds so much optimism. I had a grin from ear to ear from the moment this film started all the way to the end. It was a fist pump movie, it was a movie about us as a world. It was just, oh, this movie's so good. In my opinion, this movie comes in as in around 2nd or 3rd for the best directed movie because of just how large in scale it is. This movie is humongous in scale. And one thing I loved about what Ridley Scott did with the characters, for one, the pacing I thought was excellent throughout the entire film. The pacing, it was a very long movie, but it just felt it flowed really nicely from scene to scene as we were watching the film go along. The other thing that I loved about the movie, and I've mentioned this before, is just Ridley Scott's use of the characters. This is a giant ensemble cast. I know the movie is about Matt Damon's character Mark Watney getting stuck on Mars, but it's not just about him being on Mars. It's also about us as a world trying to find him and trying to go save him. And that, and his use of the characters in the film, also this comes also to the writing, Drew Goddard's writing, was just phenomenal. Just an absolute achievement in how he utilized these characters. None of them felt wasted. Not a moment of this film felt wasted. They were all utilized perfectly. And Matt Damon, this is one of his best performances he's ever given. He's spectacular in the movie. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of him after this. This movie was a huge surprise for me, and it made me feel good. And it's a movie I'll be watching. I watched it 3 times in theaters. I'm gonna be watching it again once I buy it, once it comes out on Blu-ray. I cannot wait to see this movie again. The Martian is number 2 on my list with a 9 out of 10. Number 1 on my list, not a lot of people are going to have known it. It's not a huge movie, but I think I'm happy I'm gonna get to talk about it, and hopefully it'll make people watch it if people see this. And I'm seeing now a lot of people now starting to give it attention and talk about it a lot. But this movie for me was it was by far the best movie of the year. Number 1 on my list, I gave a 9.5 out of 10. This movie is Ex Machina. This movie, here's how I'm going to describe it. In its visual style and in its themes, it's very similar to Stanley Kubrick. It's very Stanley Kubrick-esque. Its suspense is very Hitchcockian. Mix those together, this movie was just an experience. This movie is as close to flawless of a movie I can get. It has moments where it has very dark comedy, but at the same time it's very, very real and dark, and its ideas. That's the thing. It's about when you think about it, you know, the AI, like that kind of, the thoughts about that, that's not a new thing. We get a couple movies about that every year. It's something we're all very curious about, like AI, artificial intelligence. But this movie does something different. I don't know, it creates a story about it, and it creates this world you kind of build in, and it's really just, it's carried on 3 performances. And all 3 of these performances blew my mind, and it makes me, all 3 of these actors now are on my radar for the year. They all had other performances in the year that were spectacular. Oscar Isaac, he was probably my favorite part of the movie. He was very comedic, but at the same time, we just didn't know his motivation. He kind of seemed like a guy you want to be friends with, but he was something off about him. And Oscar Isaac did a wonderful job with that. Domhnall Gleeson, he's the main character. He's the person we resonate with. He's the person we connect with. He's the person we're experiencing this whole thing with. I thought his character was well done, and Domhnall Gleeson, of course, he's been in a lot of things as well. Both of those were in Star Wars. And the third person, Alicia Vikander, she is, in my opinion, worthy of Oscar nominations. I really hope she gets some for this movie. I don't know that she will because the movie came out pretty early in the year, but her performance was phenomenal. It was hard to read her, but you fell in love with her. And just the way these characters are worked together and how everything builds up over time, you create assumptions and questions as the movie goes along, but they start to answer them in different ways and try to debunk some of our theories as the movie goes along. It just keeps you guessing, and then when the movie concludes, it just rips your soul out, because everything happened. I don't want to spoil it, obviously, but the movie is just, it made me feel, and it was a movie when I just wanted to talk to people about it nonstop. It's a movie I still want to talk about nonstop. It's a movie I've watched several times, and a movie I will watch several times in the future. This is the best movie of the year. It's almost flawless. I love Ex Machina. That's why I gave it a 9.5 out of 10, and it is number 1 on my list. Very quickly, I just want to put out some honorable mentions really quick of some other great movies you should watch if you've seen everything in my top 10 list. Inside Out was another one that was really big and didn't get in my list. Kingsman: The Secret Service was a really fun action movie. Let's see, Creed. Creed was like just outside. I love this movie, and this is a movie that everybody should see. I'm really upset I couldn't get in there. The Gift was another one I wish I could have got on my list. The Gift was just another one that was just a huge surprise for me. In terms of comedy, one more I'll throw in, Spy. Spy was probably my second biggest surprise of the year, just because I thought that movie was going to be horrible. And that movie was, I don't know if I laughed harder at a movie all year than Spy. So make sure you check those movies out too. Thank you guys very much for watching my video. I'm really looking forward to seeing your guys' opinion. Put in the opinion your top 5, top 10 movies. I want to see what you guys think in the comments below. I really would look forward to seeing your opinions. I know, because obviously if our opinions are exactly the same, that'd be very weird. I mean, it's possible, it's very possible, but it'd be very weird because we all see films in different ways. So I'm really looking forward to seeing your responses below, guys. Thank you very much for watching. This is Ryan Havens here from Razzle. This has been my top 10 movies of 2015. I can't wait to get through this amazing 2016 lineup. Thank you guys very much for watching. Have a good one.